Good morning, S1, and I hope you all had a really, really good weekend. I am trying to keep to the timetable a little bit more, hence why we didn't have anything yesterday, because we don't usually have anything on a Monday on week A, which I'm pretty sure it is. So last week, you all were working on presentations on a god and a hero from Greek mythology. Now, you guys did a really, really good job. I've marked most of them. I think there's still a few that I'm yet to look at, but I was really impressed by what a lot of you kind of came up with. They were really, really interesting and really engaging, and it hopefully introduced you a bit to this topic. These are stories that were told, thousands of years ago. These are really, really old stories that still kind of have relevance and importance today, and we still remember people like Hercules, and we still hear kind of these stories. That's why it's so important that we're going to be learning it, because when we move on to S2, S3 and beyond, or if you go to university, you'll actually find that a lot of stories refer back to these original Greek kind of myths and stories and things like that, so it's really important. What we're going to do across the next few weeks is each week I'm going to be recording a section of a story, and you have to listen and then answer questions at the end and maybe do some other tasks. So I think I've explained this to you before. Usually you would get to read and then answer questions. That's a totally different skill, but listening and answering questions is, hopefully you'll find it easier. Maybe you'll find it more challenging. You cannot cheat. You cannot go and find the written copy, because this is actually off the top of my head, basically. This is my version of a story that I've been told since I was, I've been like hearing about since I was at school, and it forms the first part of a really big story. So the big story, as I said, is basically known as kind of the fall of Troy. I told you already, Troy is that kind of a city, or it was a city, or people don't even know if it was real. And it was one of the strongest and well-fortified cities in the world. And this is the story of how it came crashing down, basically. Right, I'm going to start from the beginning, though. And remember, in this story, it is, for the most part, it's made up. Some people think there's part of it's based in truth. So there's going to be spells and gods and magic and things like that. So be aware of that. The story begins with something so small. You wouldn't even imagine that this would lead to the destruction of a city, but the story actually begins with a party. And it was a party being run by the gods. Okay, so in ancient Greece, a lot of you already found out, the gods were all kind of living together in Mount Olympus. A lot of them were related to each other, or big brothers and sisters and things like that. They decided to have a really big party. Everyone was invited, from the most important gods to the least important gods, and they were having an amazing time. But one person wasn't on the guest list, and that person was a goddess, or kind of a minor goddess, called Eris. Now, she wasn't invited, mostly due to being quite an unpleasant character. People didn't want her to come and make them all feel rubbish, or, eat all the snacks or something. So they didn't invite her. They left her out. And this really, really offended her. So because she's a god, just to get her own back in a petty way wouldn't have been right. She wanted to get her own back in the most devastating way. And she did it in a very interesting manner. She, first of all, gate crashed the party, as you'd expect. And she brought with her a present. And she basically brought in the present, left it in the middle of the room, and then left. She didn't say anything. She didn't do it, nothing else happened. And all the gods were really confused. And they opened up the present, and it was this beautiful golden apple. Like, imagine, like pure gold. It was shiny and like amazing looking. And when they turned it over, it had something engraved on the back. It just had the words, "To the most beautiful." Now, at this point, the gods started to decide, well, who's this present for? Which one of us was it intended for? Who is the most beautiful? 3 gods, or 3 goddesses, said, I think this apple is for me. I'm the most beautiful. The first one was Aphrodite, the goddess of love. The second one was Hera, the goddess of sort of motherhood and families. And the third one was Athena, the goddess of war and logical thinking. They were all beautiful in their own way. And they all said, that apple is for me. And they started to fight over it. No, I'm the most beautiful. I'm the most beautiful. To which point Zeus stood in and said, right, we need to put a stop to this. We need to have some kind of independent jury decide who's the most beautiful, because you guys can't decide amongst yourself, and none of us can decide because we're all related to you. So we can't, it would be biased. So let's go find somebody who doesn't know any of you and get him to choose who the most beautiful is. Then you get to keep the apple. So they go down to Earth, and there they come across a shepherd. And the shepherd is just out minding his own business, tending his sheep. His name is Paris. Now I know that's a bit of a strange name for a boy, but that was his name. His name was Paris. And he was minding his own business, and three beautiful goddesses appeared in front of him, saying, which one of us is the most beautiful? If you choose, whichever one of us you choose, we'll give you a prize. So the first person to go was Athena, and she said, if you choose me as being the most beautiful, I'm going to make you the best military leader in the whole world. You'll win any battle, any war, get any spoils, any kind of prizes you ever want. At which point Hera butted in and said, no, I'm the most beautiful. Choose me, and I'm going to make you the king of all the land. You can rule everything. At which point Aphrodite slyly comes forward, and what Aphrodite does is she does up her hair, and she makes herself, she puts some kind of magic over herself so she looks extra beautiful, and she says, choose me and your prize will be the most beautiful woman in the world. Now Paris has a think, military leadership, do I want to be a king, or do I want to find the best looking girl on all of Earth? I think you can maybe imagine what's going to happen next. He decided to go for the girl. So he says, Aphrodite, I choose you. Right, where's this girl I'm being set up with? And Aphrodite says, thank you very much. Always thought I was the most beautiful. The other two goddesses storm off furiously. And she says, I'll show you the girl that you are going to be allowed to marry. You can have her. Her name is Helen. At which point, Aphrodite explains that there's a bit of a twist. You see, Helen is the most beautiful girl in the world. She is unbelievably beautiful, but she is currently married to somebody else. So that's where we're going to pause in our story. We've got some furious goddesses. We've got Paris, who's been promised a girl who's married to somebody else, and we somehow need to lead it to an entire city being destroyed. So when you look at the slides I'm going to attach to this, you'll see there's a load of questions for you to answer. I hope that you find them all okay and easy enough, and I will see you next week for the second installment of this story. All right, guys, have a great week, and I'll talk to you later.